This is part 2, episode 75. The competitions for the morning of the second day ended. However, Huiyuhao could not help but stare at the pavilion in the resting zone. He saw the group of black-clothed Holy Ghost sect disciples quickly leaving the pavilion. Other than Tang Yue, his gaze instantly fell on a female disciple of the Holy Ghost sect. Like Tang Yue, her face was covered with a veil. Huiyuhao closed his eyes briefly, and as his spiritual power vibrated, he was able to implant his own voice into her head. "Sister?" The black-robed woman paused momentarily. However, she appeared to not have heard Huiyuhao's voice as she continued walking forward with her teammates. Evidently, the other youths in black respected her greatly. She and Tang Yue were in the center as they walked out. Huiyuhao paused momentarily as a look of confusion crossed his eyes. The result of his probe was not what he had expected. Could this mean? "Yuhao," Wang Donga called him gently. Huiyuhao nodded and said, "Let's go." Circled by everyone, they also left the resting zone as they proceeded toward the Brilliant Delight Hotel. On their way there, Huiyuhao fell into deep thought. Nanqiuqiu appeared to have calmed herself down. She was much quieter, but she still kept close to Wang Donga. When she saw Wang Donga pushing Huiyuhao's wheelchair, the expression on her face changed. She harbored no good feelings toward Yuhao. If not for his tricks, she would not be in the Tang sect. After obtaining victory in the first elimination round, they had ample time to rest. Before the competition started in the morning, the organizing team had announced that the first elimination round would last 4 days because there were just too many teams. This also meant that they had 2 more days of rest. It was not early, so the first thing they did upon returning to the hotel was to head for the cafeteria to eat. Nanqiuqiu's mouth twitched as she glared at him and said, "Liar." An awkward expression crossed Huiyuhao's face as he said, "You can't blame me for this. At that time, you were too arrogant. I thought that no one would fall for such a trick." "What do you mean by that?" Nanqiuqiu, who had just regained her calm with much difficulty, was incensed once again. Huiyuhao shook his head helplessly and said, "Let's eat. Explain this to me clearly before you eat." Nanqiuqiu stood up suddenly. The anger she had been suppressing on her way here was only suppressed because of Wang Donga. However, on the way here, the more she thought about how she had ended up here, the angrier she got. How could she lose herself so easily? In the Tang sect, she could not enjoy herself as much as she used to in the Earth Dragon sect. She also did not know how the others would treat her. Her panic and rage were all concentrated on Huiyuhao. Huiyuhao looked at her in pity and said, "Now I finally understand why your mother was so willing to send you over to us." Nanqiuqiu was already upset with her mother because of this. When Huiyuhao said this princess was so triggered that she could almost explode. Her soul power was pulsating violently. "What do you want to do?" Wang Donga turned her head over to glare at her. Among everyone from the Tang sect, Nanqiuqiu disliked Wang Donga the least. Her face contorted with rage, she said, "Forcing me to join the Tang sect is just a way for you to humiliate me. If you can, kill me now. I'll rather die than surrender." Hikaitu said in a stunned voice, "Is it so serious?" "Sister, we are good people." "Who's your sister, Baldai?" Nanqiuqiu said angrily. "How can you say that?" Xiao Xiao could take no more. She slammed the table and stood up. A fight was on the verge of breaking out. At this moment, Jingxian chortled and stood up. She pressed Xiao Xiao and said, "What are you doing? What are all of you doing? Aren't you hungry?" "I'm hungry." "Sister Qiuqiu, don't worry so much. Now that you're in the Tang sect, everyone welcomes you. No one will target you for anything. Sit down and eat. Once we get back, I'll accompany you. Don't worry, if anyone dares to bully you, I'll stand up for you. I am like their teacher in charge. They'll listen to me." No one reacted to what Jingxian had just said. Everyone stared at her with an odd gaze. She sounds like a wolf in disguise. When Nanqiuqiu looked at Jingxian, who was smiling, the expression on her face changed for the better. Finally, someone was speaking her language. Furthermore, now that her mother had allowed her to join the Tang sect, she knew that her own abilities could not take so many of them on at once. Hence, she decided not to say anything, but instead ate her meal angrily. Everyone nodded in agreement with Huiyuhao's suggestion. They still had quite some buffer time afterward. This would benefit Bei Bei in making a full recovery. "All right, let's go back and rest." Hu Yuhao made the decision after he sought everyone's opinion. Everyone stood up and prepared to leave the cafeteria. A displeased voice sounded, wait a moment, where will I stay? Nan Xiuqiu looked upset as she stared at everyone. She felt as if they had all forgotten about her. Before Hu Yuhao could open his mouth, Jing Ziyan walked up to her with a smile and said, you can stay with me. While our living conditions aren't ideal, it won't be too much trouble to have one more person. Xiao Xiao and Jiang Nan stayed together. Wang Dongna stayed with Hu Yuhao. Jing Ziyan and Nana stayed together. If Nan Xiuqiu stayed with them, the three girls would share one room. Nana said, slightly peeved, Sister Ziyan, what will I do? Jing Ziyan said, it's fine. If we combine 2 beds, it should be enough for 3 people to sleep together. What? We have to combine beds? Nan Xiuqiu looked at them in shock. No, I must have my own room. Get the organizing team to give me my own room. Xu Sanxia chuckled and said, Beauty, who do you think we are? We're just a small, unknown sect. Will the organizing team listen to us? When in Shrek, do as the Shreks do. Since you've already joined our sect, stop making so much trouble for us. With Jiang Nan present, he was much more reserved. Under other circumstances, he would have made fun of her far more mercilessly. That's not possible, Nan Xiuqiu said defiantly. Hu Yuhao said, how about this? You can go and rest with the Earth Dragon sect for now. After the tournament ends, we'll bring you back to the Tang sect. After all, you signed up as an Earth Dragon sect disciple, and you can't compete on our behalf. After 3 rounds of battle, Hu Yuhao still felt pretty good. While the amount of cold air the Snow Lady could absorb was limited, this was because Snow Lady was still a part of him. After the cold air was absorbed, the origin energy of ultimate ice would form new cold air. He also made his body absorb some of the origin energy when the Snow Lady took away the cold air. While the speed was slow, it was an alternative form of cultivation, and much easier than him trying to absorb it by himself. The biggest benefit for this competition was that Snow Lady could maintain her momentum after she absorbed the cold air from his body. This was why Hu Yuhao said to Wang Dong'er that his temporary paralysis might not be a bad thing. The other 4 members of the Earth Dragon sect could no longer sit still. After the first 3 members had been frozen into ice sculptures by Ice Lady, Hu Yuhao did not ask them to not take part in the upcoming group round. However, according to this tempo, they would soon find themselves unable to take part anyway. Among the 4 remaining members of the Earth Dragon sect, the only female Soul Master stood up and walked to the stage with a serious expression. Hello, I'm Nan Xiuqiu. The Earth Dragon sect member took the initiative to greet Hu Yuhao. Hello, replied Hu Yuhao with a gracious smile. Nan Xiuqiu looked at Snow Lady in Hu Yuhao's arms and said, I know that she is an ability of your martial soul. Hence, I won't show mercy like my comrades. With that, she nodded at Hu Yuhao and turned away. On the main podium, Xu Tianran, who was watching the scene interestedly, turned to Zhu Zi and asked, that should be the captain of the Earth Dragon sect, right? Zhu Zi replied respectfully, yes, your highness. She's called Nan Xiuqiu, and she's the captain. While the more powerful members of their sect did not take part this time, she's still one of the most powerful members of their sect. She's probably competing to ensure that they don't do too badly. Xu Tianran said, not bad. While you're no longer in charge of intelligence anymore, you're still very well informed. So, tell me, who do you think will win this round? Zhu Zi was stunned. Then, she shook her head and said, I don't know. Jing Hongchen said, Hu Yuhao was the champion of Shrek Academy's team in the last tournament. At that time, he did not even have 3 rings and yet was able to compete alongside his teammates. Furthermore, he showed off his skills in that tournament. He has twin martial souls, one spirit type and the other ice type. Furthermore, his ice type martial soul is the rare ultimate ice. The fact that he can compete twice is a testament to his strength. Furthermore, on his way back to Shrek Academy the last time, he was even able to escape Senior Long's pursuit. Hearing this, Xu Tianran was dumbfounded. How can this be possible? With his cultivation, how can Senior Long? So this is one who made a bet with Uncle Long. On Xu Tianran's other side, the person clothed entirely in black opened his mouth to speak. His voice was weird, and one could not tell his age from his voice. Even his gender was indistinguishable. He looked demonic, and everyone couldn't help but turn to look at him when they heard his voice. Imperial Tutor, you know about this person? Xu Tianran asked the person in black. From the order of the seating, one could tell that the person in black was ranked even higher than Jing Hongchen. Yes. Hallmaster Hongchen asked for our help. In the arena, Hui Yuhao, who had started to battle, did not know that even in his crippled state, he had still caught the attention of the Sun Moon Empire's leadership. His attention was completely on his opponent. Nan Qiuqiu from the Earth Dragon sect was no easy opponent. As the judge announced the start of the competition, Nan Qiuqiu released her martial soul. 2 yellow, 2 purple, and 1 black soul ring appeared, showing off her rank as a Soul King, appeared. A pink, chestnut-shaped crystal appeared on her forehead as she released her martial soul. Following that, her body started to grow. She seemed to have grown a head taller. She pointed into the sky with her ring finger, and bright pink dragon scales started to grow from her fingertip. Unlike the other Earth Dragon sect soul masters, her scales were bright pink. With the growth of her scales, her right hand appeared to have turned completely bright pink. A faint pink light shone and instantly burned her entire right sleeve off to reveal an arm covered entirely in scales. Then, she pointed in Hui Yuhao's direction. Her first soul ring lit up, and a ray of pink light shot toward Hui Yuhao. It was able to cross 100 meters in an instant as it appeared before Hui Yuhao. This speed was almost as fast as a ray shot by a Class 4 soul engineer. Hui Yuhao did not ask the Snow Lady to block it. He had to find out what kind of power this was. However, Nan Qiuqiu's ability was not ultimate fire. The soul power she released was extremely warm, and yet this soul power was able to melt ultimate ice. This was... the only ability this could be was... Annihilation? A power which could destroy all other types? In the lessons of Shrek Academy, there was a special course that explained all types of soul power to the students. Annihilation was mentioned during that course. Annihilation was extremely powerful. After it hit its opponent, it was able to destroy its target based on the target's type. There were 2 things one had to watch out for when dealing with Annihilation-type soul power or attacks. Firstly, it could not be countered by any type. Secondly, after it hit its target's soul power would be depleted quicker than normal. Hui Yuhao could not feel the depletion of his soul power just yet, as he possessed an ultimate ice martial soul. No matter how powerful Annihilation was, it would have to expend a lot of soul power to disintegrate an ultimate martial soul. If they continued to fight like this, the effects of its second trait would not be as obvious on Hui Yuhao. Even so, Hui Yuhao was shocked. The teachers of Shrek Academy had mentioned that ultimate martial souls were only slightly rarer than Annihilation martial souls. Just like Hui Yuhao's spirit type, it was also difficult for them to form soul rings. He had never expected to meet one in this tournament. Annihilation type. Looking at her, could her martial soul be the rarely seen rogue dragon of the first dragons? That would be bad. Other than being Annihilation-type dragons, rogue dragons also specialized in long-range attacks. Nan Qiuqiu watched Hui Yuhao react to her first soul skill, the Light of Annihilation. A cold smile crossed her face. As Hui Yuhao assessed her abilities, how could she not assess his? Nan Qiuqiu glared at him and said, "You eliminated the Earth Dragon sect. Do you think we still have rooms? Then there's no choice. Third brother is right. I don't think the organizing team will give us a new room. How about you pay for your own room?" Nan Qiuqiu's face turned green as she said, "Are you pretending to be stupid or are you really stupid? Is there even a hotel with an empty room during the tournament? Furthermore, now that I'm part of the Tang sect, shouldn't you arrange for a place for me to stay?" Everyone looked at Hui Yuhao with schadenfreude. Xu Sanxia tapped his elbow and said, "Yuhao, you brought this upon yourself. Solve it yourself." With that, he casually walked off with Jiang Nan. Hui Yuhao replied, "Nan Qiuqiu, the situation as you see it. The Tang sect had 10 members before you joined. In total, we have 5 rooms. You can pick any room you want. However, regardless of who you stay with, someone will have to squeeze. So?" Nan Qiuqiu rolled her eyes. Suddenly, she had a plan as she said, "Then I shall room with you." Hui Yuhao looked at her in shock. "Guys and girls shouldn't room together." Nan Qiuqiu said, "We're all soul masters, what's there to be ashamed of? There's no need to think so much, I'll sleep on the sofa. Let's go, bring me to your room." With that, the maiden turned to leave. Hui Yuhao looked at her disappearing figure in shock. Then, he turned to Wang Donga, who was next to him, and said, "Does she want to room with me, or does she want to room with you? She probably guessed that we're rooming together." "Donga, you are really too attractive." Wang Donga smiled slightly and said, "That's right, you are getting smarter. Hui Yuhao suddenly flew into a full-on panic mode. No, she can't room with us. Let's go. He suddenly realized that with Nan Qiuqiu around as a third wheel, how could he be intimate with Donga? Nan Qiuqiu replied without hesitation, how can you compare to him? You're a liar. Anyone can see that Wang Dong is a true gentleman who won't take advantage of others. Am I right, Wang Dong? Yes, you're right, Wang Donga said with a dazzling smile. While she did not want another girl in the room, she found Hui Yuhao's current state extremely amusing. Her childish desires were piqued as she went along with Nan Qiuqiu's flow. Open the door, Nan Qiuqiu said as she pointed at it. Wang Donga opened the door and Nan Qiuqiu walked in first. While the room was not big, it was very clean. Wang Donga had cleaned the room herself. After they checked in, she had told the hotel reception that there was no need to clean their room for them. She liked to take care of Hui Yuhao herself. Nan Qiuqiu sat on the sofa and said, right, I'll sleep here temporarily. I won't fight for a spot with a cripple. Why do you two guys share one bed? Hui Yuhao and Wang Donga's room only had one double bed, and not two single beds like most rooms. Wang Donga said naturally, so I can take care of him. It's hard for him to move around. Nan Qiuqiu's eyes gleamed as she sighed in admiration. Wang Dong, you're so kind. You treat this despicable, pretentious, and shameless guy so well. Hui Yuhao felt that before he could correct this girl's bad habits, she would make him die from anger. What's wrong? Nan Qiuqiu said gleefully. As she looked at Hui Yuhao in this state, she was happy beyond words. Hui Yuhao's eyes flashed, and a smile appeared on his face once more as he said, Wang Dong, carry me onto the bed, I want to rest for a while. I've been busy for the entire morning and I'm tired. All right, Wang Donga said. When she heard that he was tired, her heart ached. Normally, with Hui Yuhao's resilience, he would not throw the word tired around easily. Immediately, she bent over to lift him from the wheelchair and carry him toward the bed. Wait a moment, Hui Yuhao suddenly said. What's wrong? Wang Donga asked. Hui Yuhao stared deeply into her light blue eyes and said dramatically, Donga, I love you. Wang Donga paused momentarily. Soon, she melted in front of Hui Yuhao's gaze as she replied softly, I love you too. Hui Yuhao wrapped his only movable right arm around her neck as he lifted his head. Then, he kissed her tender, soft, red lips. After a brief kiss, he let go. Wang Dong, you're actually, Nan Qiuqiu pointed at Wang Donga as her voice trembled more and more. Wang Donga looked at Hui Yuhao, who was smiling helplessly. She continued his charade for him and said, Qiuqiu, you can't discount homosexual love. Actually. Shut up. Nan Qiuqiu screamed. She turned and ran out of the room. She pulled the door open and disappeared instantly. She did not forget to close the door, but slammed it with such intensity that it made both Hui Yuhao and Wang Donga tremble. You're too naughty, Wang Donga carefully placed Hui Yuhao on his bed, and a helpless smile crossed her face. Hui Yuhao did not let go of her neck as he chuckled and said, she pissed me off first. She questioned my ability as a man, that's unforgivable. Furthermore, I'm helping you solve a problem too. If not, she'll bother you non-stop. Wang Donga stifled a laugh and said, however, you're affecting her worldview. Hui Yuhao said, with her temper, it's all right to shock her every once in a while. I suspect that she's going to find Sister Ziyan and the rest, though I wonder if they'll tell her that you're a girl. Wang Donga bit her lips gently and said, with Sister Ziyan's troublemaking personality, what do you think she'll say? Poor Qiuqiu. She's right, you are a bad boy. Hui Yuhao pulled her into his embrace and said, so what if I'm bad? I'm your bad boy, and you're silly boy, so good. All guys will have to be these two boys. Nap with me. Wang Donga stood next to him. She was cultivating her purple demon eyes too, but her eyes were much weaker than Hui Yuhao's. After all, she did not have a martial soul like the spirit eyes that was helpful in cultivating her purple demon eyes. Round 2. Shrek Academy will be competing today, right? Wang Donga asked Hui Yuhao. Yes, Hui Yuhao nodded in confirmation. The second elimination round started. As the first elimination round took too long, there wasn't a break between it and the second elimination round. After the duels ended yesterday, the lot drawing for the second round commenced immediately. The Tang sect would be competing tomorrow. Today, Shrek Academy was going to compete. As the legendary team in the tournament, many people were waiting for them to compete. In the previous tournament, they had managed to create a miracle even though the circumstances were unfavorable for them. Could they do the same in this tournament? No one knew the answer. The inclusion of sects made the tournament more worth watching, but also made it much more unpredictable. After the first round, 56 of the remaining 84 teams came from sects. That was 2/3 of the teams left in the tournament. This showed how powerful sects were. However, there were some traditional academy teams which were true powerhouses, such as the Star Luo National Academy and the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy. The resting area was much more spacious now. The seats had also been rearranged. The Tang sect, which had obtained full 12 points in the first elimination round, was guided to the pergola. This was the VIP resting area. Only the strongest teams could rest here. The second elimination round is about to commence. Everyone, please stay silent. The reigning champions and winners of all of the previous editions of the tournament, Shrek Academy, will be competing today. The Sun Moon Empire's citizens didn't have a good impression of Shrek Academy. It was because of Shrek Academy that the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy always came in second in the tournament. When they heard the words Shrek Academy, many of the spectators started booing. Huo Yuhao could see many things much more clearly as he entered the VIP resting area. Although the Tang sect had managed to gain access into this area due to their impressive performance in the previous round, they could only sit at the sides. Shrek's Academy team was in the center of the VIP resting area. They were next to the Sun Moon Imperial Soul Engineering Academy, the Holy Ghost sect, and other strong teams. Huo Yuhao also noticed another team. They were on the other side of the VIP resting area. He had noticed this team on the second day of the tournament. They had seemed to be very average, but their martial souls couldn't be concealed. They were from the body sect. However, they were doing their best to conceal their abilities. Apart from these few teams he had taken note of, Huo Yuhao's expression suddenly changed as he unleashed his spiritual detection. Almost every team in this VIP resting area was extraordinary. From what he sensed, there were very few competing members that had less than 5 rings. Most of them were at least Soul Kings. Huo Yuhao was only a Soul King himself. Although his spiritual detection was great, his judgment of the aura of those beyond his cultivation wasn't fully accurate. However, it was still good enough for him to tell how strong or weak a team was. Wang Qiao was sitting on a chair at the very front of Shrek Academy's team. Huo Yuhao discovered that Dai Huabin, Ning Qian, Zhu Lu, Wu Feng, and the others behind her appeared very resolute. After not seeing them for some time, they seemed to have matured greatly. At the very least they were less impatient. It seemed like the pressure from the tournament wasn't entirely a bad thing. Huo Yuhao was impressed. Second elimination round. The first fight will be between Shrek Academy and the Heavenly Armor sect. Both parties, please enter your waiting areas. The voice coming from the main stage announced the beginning of the second elimination round. Heavenly Armor sect? Huo Yuhao felt that this name was very familiar. He immediately recalled how he had met the disciplined Heavenly Armor sect before they came to Radiant City. They were all riding horn-scale horses from the Doling Empire. The Heavenly Armor sect had even left a deep impression on him. He hadn't expected them to have to face Shrek Academy in the second round. Shrek Academy was extremely reputable. They had built that reputation with their ability for thousands of years. The Heavenly Armor sect was simply too unlucky to have drawn Shrek Academy. After making it through the first round, they had met Shrek Academy in only the second round. Han Zhanghu was helpless. Since they had met Shrek Academy, what could they do? They could only go all out against them. This was the idea that he planted in his disciples' heads after the lot was drawn. It was a rare opportunity for them to fight Shrek Academy. At least they could have a taste of the abilities and fighting strategies of the top academy on the continent. The 7 competing members from both sides entered the waiting area. The referee said loudly, individual elimination round. First members from both teams, please enter the stage. A muscular youth from the Heavenly Armor sect jumped onto the stage as the spectators watched. Dai Huabin was the first from Shrek Academy to compete. What? Huo Yuhao gently exclaimed. As he watched Wang Qiao's back, the look in his eyes changed. She's not the first to compete? This is unlike her. Wang Donga also muttered under her breath. Huo Yuhao clapped his hand against hers and said, they are really smart. It seems like she really values this tournament. To conserve her abilities and fight in a balanced manner, she's managed to remain patient. It won't be easy for us either, if we meet them. Wang Donga said, "It's better not to meet them. It's not good for us to go against one another." Hu Yuhao smiled and replied, "Let's see how our luck is. If we don't meet them in the next round, we should be able to last until the finals." Dai Huabin was much fitter than before. He entered the stage confidently. Both parties greeted each other in front of the referee. Shrek Academy, Dai Huabin. Heavenly Armor Sect, and you. The referee repeated the rules of the tournament once more and emphasized that neither of them should intentionally kill their opponent. Otherwise, they would be punished. After that, he let the two of them retreat and prepare for the fight. While Dai Huabin appeared very calm, he was actually very anxious. After unleashing his martial soul, Yu took big strides towards Dai Huabin as his aura continued to soar. With a roar, Dai Huabin's speed increased rapidly. His thick and strong legs unleashed great force. The speed at which he was moving was so fast that an illusory projection seemed to drag along behind him. He slammed his tiger palm towards Yu. Yu did the opposite. As he was bursting forward, he suddenly stomped his left leg and came to an abrupt stop. As he stopped, he unleashed his heavenly armor shield. The Heavenly Armor Sect was a family sect. All of its disciples were descendants and relatives, and they possessed almost the same martial soul, the Heavenly Armor Shield. Bang! It was only the first strike, but Dai Huabin demonstrated how powerful he was. Their cultivations were at the same level, and his opponent had used a shield to defend against him, but his palm strike forced Yu back more than 3 meters. Yu's feet even made sparks as he slid across the metal surface. Dai Huabin's sharp tiger claws had left 5 deep marks on the shield. This video will end here. Thank you for watching.